Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the CAE department seminars. Thank you very much for your attendance. Today's speaker is going to be Dr. Meili Liu. The topic is Insights from Molecular Dynamics into the Chemistry Structure Relationships of Calcium Aluminosilicate Classes. Dr. Meili Liu is a postdoc with Professor Luis Ruiz-Pestana in Civil and Architectural Engineering at the University of Miami. She graduated with a PhD in chemistry from Beijing Normal University in 2021. She was a visiting scholar at UC Berkeley for 2 years. Her current research focuses on chemical behavior and mechanisms of materials using MD simulations, AIMD calculations using LAMMPS and CP2K. And during her PhD, she focused on catalytic mechanisms of proteins, protein-protein interactions, and on other topics. Thank you, Meili, for agreeing to do this, and it's all yours.
Okay, thanks for nice introduction, and thanks for the invitation to be here. I'm going to try to keep everything at a very high, but please feel free to interrupt at any point if something I say doesn't make sense, or if you have any question. The topic of my presentation is about insights from molecular dynamics into the chemistry structure relationship of calcium aluminosilicate glasses. The presentation will have 4 parts. In the first one, I will tell you the reason why I focus on the calcium aluminosilicate and silicate glasses, and is important in research and industry. In the second part, I will talk you about my research goal and the approach performed in this work. In the third part, I will focus on parts of short-range structure and medium-range structure to show chemical structure relationship in CS glasses. In the last part of the presentation, I plan to show the main conclusion from today's presentation. Okay, all right. Let's start from the background. Concrete is the most widely used man-made material. It is widely used on the building material and concrete artwork. Ordinary Portland cement, called OPC, is the binding agent of concrete. The manufacture of OPC will result in 80% of anthropogenic carbon emissions. Therefore, replacing OPC in concrete has emerged as one of the most efficient strategies to mitigate the environment impact of the concrete industry. Much work in the last 2 degrees has been directed towards identifying material to replace the OPC with a low carbon footprint and that can undergo hydraulic or pozzolanic reaction in supplementary cementitious. Typical ICMS are byproducts of industrial process like fly ash, limestone, and slag. The major factor limiting OPC replacement by ICMS is the slow reactivity and the availability of industrial byproducts. ICMS is declining fading out for environmental reasons. As a result of the slow reactivity and the decreasing availability of ICMS, there is a pressing need for designing new highly reactive ICM formulation. Through the picture, the composition of typical ICMS are involved in silicate, calcium, and alumina. And the calcium alumina silicate glasses are the main reactive phases in ICMS. Based on the previous studies, existing experimental research on ICMS has been largely based on empirical evaluation of macroscopic reactivity. There are also some computational studies on glasses, but only a narrow range of glass compositions are covered. Move on to the second part, consent that the physical and chemical property mainly by their atomic structure, and the structure depend on their chemical composition. Sorry. So in order to better optimize the property of CAS glasses, our research goal is to figure out the composition structure relationship in CAS glasses. In this project, we use molecular dynamics simulation in this work. And the molecular dynamic simulation is a computer simulation method for analyzing the physical movements of atoms and molecules. The atoms and the molecules are allowed to interact for a fixed period of time, giving a view of dynamic evolution of the system. As a powerful tool, MD simulation can be used to study the property of a material and to design drugs, as well as to model molecules and much more. We model system at atomistic resolution, and the atoms are described as interacting point particles that follow Newton's equation of motion. To run MD simulation, you typically need to follow these steps. Firstly, create an initial state for your system. Then you introduce the interaction potential between particles in the system. And at the end, you predict how particles move by integrating Newton's equation of motion. To introduce your interaction potential in your system, you can use use existing so-called force field. The force field describes the interaction between the atoms. They are include bonded and non-bonded. After the MD simulation, we will get the atomistic structure. First of all, we compare our simulated results about short-range structure between the theoretical and the experimental work, so that we can make sure our atomistic structure we get is reasonable. And before discussing the composition structure relationship, let us learn more about our system in this work. First of all, the chemistry in our systems. CAS glasses are consistent with the calcium, alumina, and the silicate. The total of their molar percentage is 1. In this work, we use the ternary plot to show the chemical composition. The orange line is the silica content. From the bottom, the content is 0. To the top, it is the 1. So we can know the top corner is the high silica, and the purple line is for the alumina content. From the left, the bottom left to the bottom, from the top, the left top to the bottom right, it's from 0 to 1. So we can know the bottom right corner is the high alumina content, and the green line is the calcium content. It's from 0 to 1. So we can know the bottom left corner is the high calcium. In this work, we use ternary plot for each red point represents one composition. In this work, we simulate a total of 70 different glass composition, almost evenly span the whole computational space. Secondly, for structure in our system, here I use the one composition to show our structure. It includes, firstly, it includes 4 types of atom, and the simulation box is 35 angstroms, and the total number of atoms are around 3,000 atoms, and the potential interaction is introduced by Jack-Seaforth field. And one structure for our simulate as an example is shown here. Finally, let's check another several structure corresponding to their composition. The first one is for higher silica, and the second one is composition with the same calcium, alumina, and silica content. And the third one is for high calcium, and the last one is the high alumina. It's obvious to find that they have the very different structures. Now, I'd like to discuss more details about short-range structure. First of all, I'd like to discuss the coordination number. For silica, we find it to be always tetrahedrally bonded with the oxygen. But for the alumina, the coordination number not only can be 4, but also can be 5 and 6. Alumina will form the different configurations in CS glasses. Check the ternary plot. The color bar is the percentage of for each geometry. We can observe coordination of alumina with the 4 coordinate is the dominant geometries. And the interesting finding is that for 5 coordinate and 6 coordinate, it will form at the high calcium and the high alumina. For calcium ion, the coordination number can be for 4, 5, and 6, 7, and 8. Please note that the color bar have the different percentage range. According to the color bar, we can find the 6-fold coordinate calcium is the dominant geometry. Let's focus on finger C. From the low calcium to the high calcium, we can find the percentage of 6-fold coordinate calcium will increase. And check the high silica, we find it has a lower percentage. If we check the finger A and finger B, we can find at the high silica, it easily to form the lower fold coordinate calcium. At the same time, we check the higher alumina. We find it has a lower percentage. If we check the finger D and finger E, we can find 7-fold coordinate calcium and 8-fold calcium, 8-fold coordinate calcium is easily to form at high alumina. Here, we used the finger F show the high silica and the high alumina to explain to figure out the difference. For the last one item, it is the oxygen. Let's talk about the oxygen space. If oxygen atom does not have any bond, it referred to as free oxygen. One bond is the non-bridge oxygen. Two bonds is the bridge oxygen. Three bonds are the tricluster oxygen. In the ternary plot, the color bar is the percentage of different oxygen species. In figure B, we can find at a high silica and a high alumina, it easily to form the bridge oxygen. But compare with the high silica, a difference is at the high alumina, it has a lower than a high alumina percentage. We can check the tricluster oxygen. We can find this lower percentage is go to form the tricluster oxygen. And another, we can check the high calcium corner. We find it has a lower percentage for the bridge oxygen. And if we check the non-bridge oxygen and the free oxygen, we can find for the high calcium, it is easily to form the non-bridge oxygen and the bridge oxygen. Here, I want to summarize the above short-range structure. The first row is the non-bridge oxygen and the bridge oxygen. And the second row is the higher fault coordinate alumina. If we observe the higher calcium, we can find high calcium means the structure have more negative, more positive charge. So we can check the charge in the non-bridge oxygen and the bridge oxygen. We can find in the bridge oxygen, the charge of oxygen is -2, and the non-bridge oxygen, the charge is -1. So we can explain at the high calcium with the higher positive charge, the structure will do the charge balance by forming the free oxygen and the non-bridge oxygen. At the same time, it has the same trend at the higher coordinate. Here, we want to check at the higher alumina. At the higher alumina corner, we can find it easily to form the tricluster oxygen. Let's ask to check the charge at the tricluster oxygen. We will find the oxygen in the tricluster oxygen. The charge is -2 to 3. So we can explain, we can say at the high alumina content and the high calcium content structure, they have the different charge composition mechanism. The next, it is the results of medium range structure. Let's look at the angle. First of all, it includes in the structure, it includes the 3 types of angle. They are the silica, oxygen, silica, silica, oxygen, alumina, and the alumina, oxygen, alumina. Here, I used the 3 different composition to show the angular distribution function. If we focus on the orange line, we will find the silica oxygen silica angle larger than silica oxygen alumina angle and larger than the alumina oxygen alumina angle. And then we check all the composition. We find in all the composition, they will follow this trend. At the same time, we will check the silica, oxygen silica with the we will check the relationship with the angle and the relation and the chemistry. For the silica, oxygen silica, we can find from the low calcium to the high calcium, it moderately decrease. But for the alumina, oxygen alumina, from the low calcium to the high calcium, it sharply decrease. Next, let's talk about the bridge. There are 3 types of bridge: silica, oxygen silica, silica, oxygen alumina, and the alumina, oxygen alumina. For the first row, it is the theory results from the previous study, and the second row is our simulated results. If we compare each column, we will find our results will have the similar trend with the previous theory. At the same time, if we put the theory results as the x-axis and our results as the y-axis, we will find previous theory over predict results, the fraction of silica, oxygen silica, and under predict the alumina, oxygen alumina bridge for all the composition. The next one is the tetrahedral coordination. First of all, for the tetrahedral coordination, it follows the number of tetrahedral neighbors. For the Qn, it means it has no tetrahedral neighbor. And for example, it have 1 tetrahedral neighbor. It is the Q1, and it has the 2 tetrahedral neighbor. It is the Q2, and then it is the Q3 and the 3 neighbors. Q4 means the 4 neighbors. Here we used the square blue for showing the silica, and the red square show the alumina, and the blue and the red shade are the standard deviation. The dashed line is the theory for the silica. First of all, we compared our simulated results for the silica with the theory results. We can find it proves that our simulated results is consistent with the theory results. Furthermore, the results of alumina is widely overlooked before our project. We found alumina QM not only include Q0 to Q4, but also it includes Q5. More detail are alumina Q5. It just can be formed at the low calcium, and the fraction is smaller than 0.25. Through further comparison between the silica Qn and the alumina Qm, we can find the trend for alumina Qm are qualitatively similar to those of silica Qn. It suggests that the alumina oxygen alumina bridge are less sensitive to the depolymerizing effect of calcium ions than the silica oxygen silica ones. Furthermore, we also did the network topology analysis. In our project, we use the silica and the alumina as nodes to show topology network of CAS glasses. Here, I used the two-dimension diagram to explain our algorithm to you. As you can see, the orange cycle is the silica, the purple cycle is the alumina atom. Only keep silica and alumina as nodes, you can see the network topology for the two-dimension structure. In our composition with the same calcium content, alumina content, and the silica content, the topology, the network topology is shown here. And I show another compositions network. We can find they show the very different the network topology. Here, I want to explain in the network topology, we will follow the 3 degree to analyze the network topology. We define the clusters in the glass as the connect graph component where the nodes belong to the same cluster. If there is a path containing them, for example, for this silica is not a connect with alumina, and for these 3 nodes they are connecting. So for this 2 diagram, it has the 2 cluster. This is the small cluster. This is the bigger cluster. And then we define the chain as the strength of the consecutively nodes with just the 2 neighbors. Like this one, this is the length of chain is the 3. Another term is ring. We define rings as a non-empty in the graph in which only one node is repeat, and where the same edge cannot be traversed twice. For example, this includes the 4 nodes, so it is the ring size is ring 4. Here we compared the cluster and the chain with the ring. First of all, for the cluster, the x-axis is the calcium content, and the y-axis is the larger cluster fraction. And from the as the increasing of calcium, we can observe a sharp transition from the connect graph to the disconnect graph. Here we can find at the content from 0 to 0.5, it have no changes in cluster. But if we check the chain, we can find it will from 0 to 0.5 of calcium content, it will initially increase, and then it reach a maximum. Finally, it will decrease. For the average ring size, it have the same trend. Firstly, increase and reach a maximum, and then decrease. So we can find the transition in the cluster and the chain and the rings. They have the same computational space. At the same time, the interesting finding is the color bar is the fraction of silica to the silica plus the alumina. So if the higher silica is the red color. So if we follow the red color, we can find it have this trend, and in the chin, we also follow the red square, and if we follow the high alumina, it is the blue square, the trend like this. So we can find the silica is delay with the alumina. At the chin, it has the same trend. At the same time, we check at the rings. So call back the tetrahedral coordination. We find the silica is delay with the alumina. So so by the tetrahedral coordination and the ring cluster and chin, we can say silica is less sensitive to the alumina in for the calcium effect. The next one is the conclusion. The first is the charge penetration. According to the above presentation, we can know at the high alumina and the high calcium, it have the different charge combination mechanism by forming the higher coordinate alumina and the tricluster oxygen. And the second conclusion is about the tetrahedral coordination. We will find the alumina QM is delay than the silica. So alumina QM is less sensitive than the silica to the depolymerizing effect of calcium ions. Finally, we used the network topology revert a sharp transition from a connected to a disconnected graph with the calcium content. It also proves the alumina is less sensitive to than the silica. At the same time, for the future work, we co-work with the Dr. Pronoy and the PhD student Soba to do the experiment characterization for the CS glasses. On the basis of the above project, we have figured out the chemical composition and the structure relationship. The next step is to using the atomistic structure to figure out the property like the reactivity. In this project, we use the initial molecular dynamic to simulate the free energy so that we can clarify the different mechanism for the dissolution in the CS glasses. Finally, great thanks to our lab members and the support from NSF, and the Department of Civil Architectural Engineering. Thanks all. That's the end of my presentation.